This is day 4 of practicing English. The sophistication of market. How many product has been there before you? As we mentioned before in chapter 2, there are 3 questions you must answer before you can determine what goes in your headline. These are: what is the mass desire that motivates your market? How many does your market know? How much does your market know about your product, their state of awareness? How many similar product have they been told about before, their state of sophistication? The third question is the most easily answered. A few hours research should give you sample of every competing ad in the field, if there are any. If you are first in your market, if there are not, if you are the first in your particular market with your particular product, then you are dealing with prospects that have no sophistication about your product at all. In other words, they have never received any information about such a product before. Once you get them interested, they are likely to become much more enthusiastic because much more of what you have to say, and buy that much more readily. Remember, your story is brand new to them. This, of course, is the dream of every manufacturer and every copywriter, to be first, as it happens quite often today. Sometimes, because of a technical breakthrough, creating a new product, women's hair spray, or a radical better product, long playing records, or a familiar product at an explosively low price, the Model T Ford. And sometimes such a brand such a brand new market is created by the insight of an advertising man dealing with an already established product. In this case, the ad man visualizes the applicant of the product to an entirely different market. The switch in the 20s of Ovaltine for an aid for insomnia to a bodybuilder from skinny children. Or he reaches that market through a hitherto untapped medium. Revlon's fabulous result from a sponsorship of $64,000 question in the early days of TVs. Or he discovers a precious unnoticed performance of his product that carries it completely beyond the limit of its old market. Here, the answer to your third question is quite simple. You are dealing with a market where you are first. Therefore, they have no previous information about similar product. Therefore, they are completely unsophisticated, and your exploitation of this answer, your strategy in approaching this market is equally simple. Be simple, be direct. Above all, don't be fancy. Name either the need or the claim in your headline, nothing more. Dramatize that claim in your copy, make it as powerful as possible, and then bring in your product and prove that it works. Nothing more, because nothing more is needed to illustrate. Let's look at one of the most profitable, insatiable, constantly renewing, and therefore overworked fields in marketing history, the reducing field. No one knows who was the first man to stumble on the reducing field, thought through, though though it's fairly certain that he must have become a millionaire. But all he has to say in the front line was a simple statement of the direct desire of millions of women. Now, lose ugly fat. As he started to clean up, others inevitably followed. But by this name, the reducing field has already been tapped. Advertisement has been run. The direct claim has been made. Mere repetition would not longer be enough. In other words, the reducing market was now in its second stage of sophistication. A new approach was necessary. The strategy has to be changed to this. If you are second, do this. If you are second and the direct claim is still working, then copy that successful claim but enlarge it. Drive it to the absolute limit. Outbid your competition. For example, here are two successful headlines in now fiercely competitive reducing field that does just that. They have both been pushed to the outer limits of both legality and believability, but they both worked. Lose up to 47 pounds in 4 weeks or receive $40 back. I am 61 pound lighter. Never a hungry minute. In most field, this enlarged claim technique reaches to outer limits in successive stages. Sometimes the competition of these processes take years. In the home garden field, as other example, and advertiser brought out of Floribunda rose. Using this headline with startling success. Pick 20, 50, 100 roses from this one magnificent plant. Pick 20, 50, 100 roses from this magnificent plant. It worked, and so some years a special variety of cushion mom swept the country with this headline: 600 moms from a single bush. And 1 year later, this headline carried the process to which are probably the absolute limit of Mother Nature. Whoever heard of 17,000 blooms from a single plant? Whoever heard of a 17,000 blooms from a single plant? As simple as this evolution look, it produces result. It produces a tremendous lift in their car sales in 1950s when 50 more horsepower was added to the advertisement every year. It was climax in the Chrysler 300, a car named after its horsepower rating and pegged just at the limit of believability, practicality, and the inevitable public reaction. The reaction will come. Towards the end, the process disintegrate. The successful claim is overworked. Enlargement piles on enlargement. New competitors enters the field, each trying to promise more. Headlines double and triple its size. Words begin to lose their meaning. Whiter than whites appears. This prospect becomes confused. The prospect becomes confused, then skeptical. Believability is shattered. Claims are automatically discounted 50% by their readers. More promise is poured into compensate. The government begins to investigate, and the sales curve begin to turn down. To put a hidden desire which cannot be put bluntly into words. Problem. To capitalize resource on research finding that smoking cigarette gives man a feeling of vitality, importance, sexual strength. Any, any verbal expression of this theme, however, would be instantly rejected as absurd and offensive. The solution: the Marlboro tattoo ad, with its viral men, cowboys, racing car drivers, skydivers, etc., whose appearance alone projected more of an image of raw virality than any number of word any number of word could even convey. Why haven't TV owner been told this fact? Was your was your set purchased after the spring of 1974? Then here is the full uncensored story of how you can avoid those $15 to $20 repair bills, avoid those $30 to $60 a year service fee, and still get the perfect movie clear picture you have dreamed about. How many times this week have you had to get up to fix a jumpy TV picture? How many times have you had to put up with ghost? 90% of these breakdowns are unnecessary. All these breakdowns may have seemed tragic to you at the moment they happen, but here is the real tragedy. Do you know that? Do you know that the same exact set that you have now in your front room have been playing in manufacturer rest room for month and playing perfectly. These sets have been subjected to breakdown test. This set has been tested again against every convincible type of viewing hazard, and in almost every one of these cases these sets have produced perfect movie clear picture measure without major breakdown for as much as 1 year. Here are some of the reasons why. What expert have learned about your set? If your set were properly cared if your set were properly cared for and this set were indeed in need breakdown only once during the entire year. If your set was properly cared for, it can actually it can actually give you perfect movie clear reception in the other 360 days of the year. And most important, these experts have discovered that you do not have to be a handyman or mechanic in order to coax this performance. Here is why. Here is why. 5 minutes a week for perfect reception. These TV experts have discovered that your TV set is a great deal like your body in this respect. That is gives warning signal before it has a major breakdown. Now, if you have the knowledge to make a few minor adjustment on the outside controls of that set, then you can correct these symptoms. If you do not have this knowledge, then your set will weaken. You will have a constantly bad picture. It's as simple as this. You pay a repairman not for his work but for his knowledge. If you had this knowledge yourself, then you would not have paid him at all. Now suppose that you have had a TV expert at your elbow 24 hours a day. Suppose that every time your set begins to flicker or jump, this expert would show you exactly what nerve on the outside of your set you could turn. Suppose that every time you were annoyed by ghost, this expert would show you simple non-mechanical tricks. Yes, and suppose that even when your set went blank, this expert could show you all the information you need about your TV set. This is exactly what a new book, The Television Owner's Guide, does to you. The Television Owner's Guide does for you, projecting an ultimate triumph that the prospect will definitely with problem to sell music lessons by correspondence to a greater audience that would respond to a directly a real play real tune on the piano in 5 days approach the solution. They laughed when I sat down on the piano, but when I started to play, author has author had just played the rosary. The room rang with applause. I decided that this would be a dramatic moment for me to make my debut. To the amazement of my friends, I strode confidently over the piano and sat down. Jack Jack is up to his old tricks, somebody chuckled. The crowd laughed. Can he really play? I heard a girl whisper to Arthur. Heaven knows, Arthur claimed. He never played a note in his life, but you watch him. This is going to be good. But you watch him. But you just watch him. This is going to be good. Then I started to play. Instantly, a tense silence fall on the guest. Their laugh died on their lips as if by magic. I heard grabs of amazement. My friend sat breathless, spellbound. I played on and on. As I played, I forgot the people around me. I forgot the hours, the place, the breathless listeners, the world where I lived. The little world I lived, it seems to fade, seems to grow dim, unreal. Only the music was real. It seemed as if the master musician himself were speaking to me, not in words, but in chord, not in sentence, but in exquisite, exquisite, not in sentence, but in exquisite melodies, a complete triumph. As the last note of the Moonlight Sonata died away, the room resounded with a sudden roar of applause. I found myself surrounded by excited faces. How my friends carried on. Man shook me by the hands, widely congratulated me, pounded me on the back with their enthusiasm. Everybody was exclaimed with delight, plying me with rapid questions. Jack, why didn't you tell us you could play like this? Where did you learn? How long have you studied? Who was your teacher? I have never seen my teachers, I replied, and just a short while ago I couldn't even play a note. Quite, quite you're kidding, laughed Arthur himself, an accomplished pianist. You have been studying for years, I can tell. I have been studying only a short while, I insisted. I decided to keep it a secret so I could surprise you all folks. Then I told them the story. Have you ever heard of the US School of Music? A friend of mine nodded. That's a correspondence school, isn't it? They exclaimed. Exactly, I replied. They have a new simplified method that can teach you to play any instrument by mail in just a few sort of months. Projecting the result of a problem is such a way that it will be identified by people who would reject a direct statement of the problem itself. Problem to increase the sales of a mouthwash, not only on a germ's theme, would be which could be immediately accepted, but on the more universal social offense theme, which would be rejected in its direct form. The idea of bad breath was too insulting to be taken by public straight the solution. Often a bridesmaid, but never a bride. often a bridesmaid but never a bride. Edna's case was really a pathetic one. Really a pathetic one. Like every woman, her primary ambition was to marry. Most of the girls in her set were married or about to be. Yet no one possessed more charm or grace or loveliness than she. And as her birthday crept gradually towards the ma- towards the tragic 30 mark, Mary's marriage seems further from her life than ever. She was often a bridesmaid, but never a bride. That's the insidious things about halitosis, unpleasant breath. You yourself really know when you have it, and even your closest friend won't tell. Sometimes a close halitosis comes from some deep-seated organic disorder that requires professional advice, but usually and unfortunately, halitosis is only a local condition that yield to the regular use of Listerine as a mouthwash and gargle. It is an interesting thing that this well-known antiseptic that has been in us for years for surgical dressing possesses this unusual property as a breath deodorant. As a breath